What's going on, everyone? This is Francis Joseph Lamanna, author of Smorgasbord, a collection of thoughts, experiences, and stories, and Smorgasbord 2 and Relish. Today's date is August the 8th, 2024, and if you do the numerology for today's date, you'll realize that it's 888, and that's a special angel number. So, I ordered, like I told you guys in the last video, a copy of my books because I didn't have any in my possession. I received a whole bunch of complimentary books when they were initially published, but I gave them away to bookstores and friends, and I didn't have any left, and I didn't feel like ordering in bulk, so I just went on the Amazon website and I ordered one copy of each just to have in my possession. So they both came finally, and this is the cover of Smorgasbord 2, Ketchup and Relish. This is the one I went over with you guys last time to break down the cover. But there's something inside that I also wanted to talk to you guys about today. And a lot of people have been asking me about the two systems of numerology that I created. And I did create two. There's one that I use way more often than the other. So the first system was called denominology, as in denomination. So denominology is a breakdown of our alphabet here in the United States, A through Z. And the breakdown is using 7 denominations of our currency. So we use the dollar bill, the $2 bill, the $5 bill, the 10, the 20, the 50, and the 100. So across the top, there would be numbers 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, and 100. And then under those would be A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And then it will start over H, I, J, K, L, M. So it goes 7, 4, 7, 7, 7, and then it ends at the 26th letter. So each letter falls under, it goes in rote form. So, A would be 1, B would be equal to 2, C would be equal to 5. And then it just goes like in rote form until we get to Z. So each letter falls under one of the dollar amounts, and that's how the value of the letter is determined. So that's denominology. That was one version that I created or came up with. And the second one, I go into depth and I talk about in my third book, Smorgasbord 3, Poverty and Prophecy. But that book hasn't been published yet. I'm still shopping for publishers. But I have been getting a lot of questions about Oculus 13 because Oculus 13 was introduced in Smorgasbord 2 under the chapter Alien Interpretation. And that's what I wanted to share and show you guys today. So in Smorgasbord 2, Ketchup and Relish, there's a chapter in the book and it's called Alien Interpretation. Now, this is a story that I just made up, and it's about an alien whose name is KB312479. And I'm going to read the first paragraph of this chapter to you, just to give you a little bit of information. It's called Alien Interpretation. Greetings, Earthlings. My name is KB312479, and I'm from a small planet that sits between Mars and Saturn. I'm writing to you to make you aware that I'll soon be visiting planet Earth. Our appearance is similar, so much that you could pass me on the street and not even know I'm an interstellar space traveler, and that's something I'm thankful for. Keeping my identity concealed will be beneficial for both of us. I know you probably have a lot of questions, and I do apologize in advance, as any information I do share will be strictly related to Case Study 1, which is the purpose for my visit. So KB312479 has a friend on Earth, and the friend's name is Lender. And Lender invites his alien friend to Earth to help him do a study on the relationship between words that are grouped together by number value. So, and the reason why he invites his alien friend to Earth is because he wanted somebody who had no previous knowledge or understanding of our vocabulary, of what words actually meant. And the point or the purpose of that is, if you have no understanding or any prior knowledge of what words mean, well, then there's no bias in your experiment. Okay. So, according to the alien who's going to be using, now, this is the second part of it that I have to tell you. So, Oculus 13 was first introduced in Smorgasbord 2, Catch Up and Relish, through this chapter, Alien Interpretation. So Lender invites his friend, who's an alien, to Earth to do the study on the relationship between between words according to the numerical value. And the system that they use is Oculus 13. So that's where I first created it, and it's in use through this chapter. It's the system that they use to come up with the value of words. And then once they get the value of words, they group them together and separate them, and then they interpret to see if there's actually a connection. And it's so interesting because when you actually see the grouping of words that were grouped according to number value, you cannot dismiss the fact that Oculus 13, the numerology system that I created, is accurate. It's really accurate. And that's probably the reason why I use it more than I do Denominology. Once I saw the results of Oculus 13, I was just blown away. And part of it was through this chapter, Alien Interpretation. So Oculus 13 is a breakdown of our alphabet. It's 2 rows, A through M, and then N through Z. So you have 13 letters in one row, and you have 13 letters in the second row, and the number value goes 1 through 13. So A is 1, B is 2, 3 is C, D is 4, and then until you get up to M. M is 13, and then it starts over. N is 1, O is 2, and then it goes up to Z, and Z is 13. The reason why I like, when I first created it, I loved it because it was perfect. And there was 26 letters in our alphabet, and if I use numbers 1 through 13, I could divide the alphabet in half perfectly, and I would have exactly 2 letters under each number value. And then once I started using it, I started to see how accurate it was. And it wasn't long after that I realized that 13 and 20 was used by the Mayans. That was their calendar. That's what they used. Those are the numbers that they used for their calendar, 13 and 20 days. So I didn't realize that till afterwards. But so here I'm going to show you the grouping now. So in the first house, we have number 1, and then we have all the words whose value equals 1, which means that for each of these words, each letter was given a value. So I had to add up all the letters in each word, get the total number value for each word based on the value of each letter. And then if it needed to be added and reduced, then I had to do that as well. So all of these words in the first house break down to 1. So they could be 28. 8 plus 2 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. They could be 19, they could be 37, and they could be 46. But either way, all of these words break down to 1. Now, I used Oculus 13. Now, these are the words that fell in the first house. Water. Here, Adam, Eve, vagina, Enoch, east, west, magnetic, hell, king, America, Sumer, Omega, genetic, Saturn, white, 2, star, love, and mom. Adam and Eve fall in the same house. That's pretty strange. House 2, soul, Venus, ear, rod, gay, Jason, Abel, deoxyribonucleic acid, Antarctica, fish, Uranus, lake, who, the, sky, black, Smyrna, Jupiter, brown, planet, how. House 3, all of these words either equal 30, 66, 6 plus 6 is 12, and then 1 plus 2 equals 3, 30, or 39. So all the words in this house can be added and reduced to equal 3. Bible, sea, crown, Neptune. Right there you see sea, which has a value of 12 and breaks down to 3, and Neptune has a value of 30. So you got Bible, sea, crown, Neptune, tongue, spirit, 1776, crucifixion, friend, hate, order, Noah, boat, Sumerian, Nedic, word, Balaam, 3, wolf, and devil. Now look at all of the things that some of those words have in common. I mean, it's just unbelievably how accurate it is. 4, tree, pole, human, birth, God, bear, liars, or lairs, dot, Magdalene, cross, south, Nova, Enosh, Mary, and blood. And this is how I came up with the fact that 13 is the number of the sacred feminine, because in house 4, we have both Mary, which was equal to 31, and Magdalene, which equals 49. So 4 plus 9 equals 13, and Mary, 31 was the value. 3 plus 1 is 4. So 4 and 13. So the number 4 is the number that I've dedicated to the sacred feminine. 49, 13, 4. But to have Mary, Magdalene, cross, and blood, human, and birth all in the same house. I'm not going to go over every house because I went up to number 9. I mean, I could do each one for you, but I'm going to tell you where I was really just sold on this. Once I got to house 6, and we all know that 6 is the number of man, okay? But when I got to house 6, I'll read you the words that are in house 6. Apple, snake, genome, Nazi, planet, air, sun, man, penis, Mercury, DNA, noon, and Byzantine. So man has a number value of 15, and sun has a value of 15. 5 plus 1 is 6. So we all know that 6 is the number of man. But for me to make up a system of numerology called Oculus 13, and man and sun both have a value of 15 and can be reduced to equal 6, thus proving that 6 is the number of man, it just blew my mind. And then once I got to the 9th house, moon, woman, sun, womb, Mercury, pen, magnesium, sword, Catholic, COVID, David, blue, dad, Pleiades. Moon had a value of 18 and woman had a value of 27. Both of those numbers can be added and reduced to 9. So man and sun, 6 is the number of man. Woman and moon equaled or had a value of 9, 6, and 9. And also in this house is womb. So you have woman, womb, and moon. I mean, it was just shocking to me to see how accurate this was. And a lot of the like the descriptions that I attach to numbers, a lot of it comes from this book. So if I attach a meaning to a number, usually it's from my own book and my own research. I mean, I go on the web and I do research and I read other people's material, but a lot of the research that I do comes from my own work. So that's Smorgasbord 2, and the system was Oculus 13. It's a base number system of 13, and it breaks the alphabet down into two separate rows of 13. So it's 13 and 13. 13 times 2 is 26. On the 1st of this month, I went for a walk in the street. And as I was walking, I had this just rush of emotions. And I realized that something was kind of different. It was a hot summer day. It was like 100 degrees. I mean, there's no doubting the fact that it was the summer. So I knew, like, the way that I felt and what I was seeing was definitely conflicting with what common knowledge was telling me. So the emotions that I had on the 1st were that it was a fall day. It felt to me like a day in October, like mid-October. And there was a guy outside blowing his leaves, but that's not really what it was. It was just the way that it felt, the way that it looked, and the rush of emotions that I had. It kind of felt like a day in October. And I kind of wrote about that and posted about that on the News Buffet Facebook page. And I actually wrote an article about it. And a couple days later, I realized that August 1st is a sacred day to the pagan religion. It's called Lughnassadh. And that is the first harvest and the day that they picked to celebrate the first day of autumn. So to me, that was just like to not be told. I mean, because let's face it, we know when the first day of summer is because we're told. We know when winter starts and spring starts and when to celebrate what days because we're told. There's a calendar, and we're told what days to follow and what falls on what day. But when you do your own research, you realize that it doesn't always fall on those days. Those are just the popular days that we all decide to celebrate because that's when we're told. But the point here is that there's a lot with all the spiritual talk and the New Age movement and all the talking that I do about intuition and following your inner guidance. Well, here is a great example of that, of me having, the inner knowing that it's the fall or autumn when the rest of the world celebrates it as the summer. And that's what made it so special. So I wanted to share that with you guys, and I did. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is David Goggins. And I just heard of Goggins a couple weeks ago. I never watched any of his videos up until 2 days ago. Never really heard of him. And he's pretty impressive. The things that he has accomplished, his mindset, what he believes, it's pretty impressive. And he said something in the interview that I watched that just really opened my eyes and made me realize something. So I shared with you guys, or I shared with you at one time, that I started lifting weights when I was about 13 years old. And I continued to lift weights until I was 27. And during that time, I also ran. I trained powerlifting. And I played football. I played football in college, and football was the basis for my training. So it was always year round, power movements, stuff for speed and agility, whatever the case may have been. And so it always revolved around football. And then in 2003, football end it for me, and I continued to lift weights over the next 4 years, and then I eventually stopped, and I took a break. I took a long break, and part of the reason that I used for taking that break was that football was over. I had nothing to train for anymore. I had nothing to lift for. So what was the point of going in the gym 7 days a week, running, training year round? I had nothing left to lift for. So I ended up taking a long time off from the gym. I actually didn't go back until I was 40 years old. So from 27 to 40, I didn't touch a weight and I didn't run. And I said it's because football was over. In the video of David Goggins that I watched, he says in the video how we're always waiting for a purpose, a special reason to do something. We always need a special reason. And then he says, it's you. And then it clicked. Why do I need football to go to the gym? Why do I need football to run? Isn't my health important enough to run for? Isn't your health important enough to lift weights for? Do you really need something in your life to do something to take care of yourself? And that made so much sense to me. And right after I watched the interview with David Goggins, I watched a video that was not related in any way. It was a video about a woman who has a garden and she's an herbalist and celebrates Lughnassadh. And, you know, she's talking about or mentioned self-love. And in the spiritual path, on the spiritual path and in the New Age movement, you hear the phrase self-love. And nobody ever really talks that much about what it means to love yourself or how to love yourself. And part of that is making yourself a priority. You don't need to have a reason to take care of yourself or your health. And then it just completely made sense to me. And that's what I wanted. The last thing that I wanted to share with you guys today. This live session is only going for 22 minutes. I apologize about that. I just like making live videos now because it's a lot easier than setting up and making, you know, a video and then posting it. This way I can just go live. I can make the video, and as soon as I'm done, it's available and ready to be watched. And I hope that you guys watch and tune in and listen to what's going on. Newsbuffet.com is my website. It's been on the internet now for 6 years. I have almost 500,000 words published on that website alone and over 1,300 articles posted. And then when you add in the books that I've written and published Smorgasbord and Smorgasbord 2, that's another 80,000 words. Those are about 40,000 words each. And Smorgasbord 3, Poverty and Prophecy, is about 64,000 words. So we're talking about almost 1 million words that I published over, you know, the course of like you could say 6 years because the website, but the books I wrote actually in a 2-year period. But the whole thing is it's like 700 and something thousand words, which is a lot of productivity. So I hope that you guys tune in. I hope you follow along. A lot of the work that I've been doing lately has really been around the moon. And I've been studying and practicing astrology now since 2009. So what I'm doing right now is I'm doing what I call moon scopes, which is like a horoscope version of the moon. And I usually do it on the nights of the full moon or the new moon. And the last article posted on newsbuffet.com was for the new moon for August 4th. So you guys can visit the website and check that out. If you're interested in purchasing my books, you can purchase them in paperback or ebook format. They're available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com and wherever else I think you can find books. The links are on my website. If you go to newsbuffet.com, the very first article posted at the top of that provides the links for the books. So you can go right to the website, click on the link, and go purchase the books if that's what you're interested in doing. And that's all for today. I hope you guys have a good day. It's Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. The weekend's coming up. I hope you all enjoy your weekend. And thank you for tuning in.